Hey guys, it's Sarah, and in today's video we are going to be kicking off my 2020 eyeshadow roulette series. I'm really excited to be starting this up again. This is a series that I started doing on my channel last year. I took a little break over December, but today we are going to be starting up a new round. If you are unfamiliar with my eyeshadow roulette series, it was totally inspired by the Pan Those Eyeshadows Project Pan that was originally started by Alexi here on YouTube, so I will link her below as always, along with a few others that I've seen do similar projects. The reason why I call mine eyeshadow roulette is because I'm not focusing quite as much on hitting pan on my eyeshadows. What I do and what most people do is they will randomly choose 5 shadows from their collection to focus on for a month, and everyone has different ways of deciding when to pick new shades or roll new shades in, but each month I just start over with a new set of 5 shadows. So I have a list of every single pan of eyeshadow in my collection, from all of my palettes, all my magnetic singles, all of my individual singles. All of those are listed there, and I go to a random number generator to pick 5 shadows from there, and it's a lot of fun because a lot of times we end up with shades from 3 or 4 different palettes in my collection. Throughout the month I just try to use all of those as much as I can, create all kinds of different looks with them. I always try to create at least one look where I use all 5. But of course I'm not going to be using all 5 every single time I sit down to do my makeup. The goal is really just to focus on them, get to know them better, and come up with some fun looks. So it's a great way to make my eyeshadow collection feel new and exciting every month. So in today's video, you might have noticed I'm not wearing any eye makeup right now, and that's because I thought we could do this video a little bit differently than I have in the past. So if you watched my eyeshadow roulette series last year, the way that I did it was I had my monthly eyeshadow roulette video where I would recap the previous month's eyeshadows, show you some looks that I did with them, and then we would pick 5 new shades. And then later in the month I would do a get ready with me where I used all 5 of that month's shadows. But this time I thought we could try it a little bit differently and actually incorporate me doing that look into this video for 2 reasons. One, because especially this video will be pretty short since all we're doing is picking 5 new shadows. The video might end up only being like 5 minutes long if I didn't add on that little eye look to it, but also because if we continue doing this every month, that'll free up another video spot in my monthly content schedule that I can do a different type of video instead. So we can kind of add a little more variety to my channel and keep my eyeshadow roulette content a little bit more compact. So let me know what you think of doing it this way. I thought we'd at least try it this time and kind of go from there. So first, let's go ahead and do the exciting part, which is picking 5 shadows. I decided to keep all the shadows that were chosen in last year's roulette out of the list because I still want only new shadows that have not been part of my eyeshadow roulette before. Since I ended my roulette last year, I did acquire 1 new palette. I got this for Christmas. It is from a new brand called Shared Planet, and it's their Polar Bear palette. Gorgeous palette. I think this is a brand new company. Really excited to try another kind of indie brand. I do plan on doing a 3 looks 1 palette with this very soon, so definitely look forward to that. But all of these shadows, there are 12 in here, have been added to the list. So I've updated my list since last time. I also decluttered a couple of single shadows back in December, and I bought 4 new eyeshadows from ColourPop in November. So those have all been added to the list, and with all of that added in, I have 166 eyeshadow pans in the mix right now. Let's go ahead and pick out the 5 shadows. I'm going to pull up my Pretty Random app. So I've got 1 through 166. So I got 80, 156. I'm trying to read it backwards in the viewfinder, it's not easy. 7, 73, and 85. So 80 is one of my favorites from ColourPop, and it is the shade Paper Tiger. It's a single shadow. My little magnetic palette here is really messy right now because during the move, one of my Makeup Geek foiled shadows, of course it was one of the foiled ones, broke, and so I need to repress that, but right now there's just a bunch of blue flecks in here. So Paper Tiger is this matte mustard yellow shade, beautiful color. 156 is actually from the Shared Planet palette that I just recently acquired. It's the shade Icy. It's this beautiful shimmery pinkish white. 7 is from theBalm Nude Dude Palette, and it's the shade Friendly. So that is this deep matte eggplant shade. 73 is from my e.l.f. Opposites Attract palette, and it's the shade Smooth. That is a dark brown, also matte. So that quite similar to theBalm Friendly shade. I think on the eyes those will look quite similar. And the last shade is number 85, which is also from ColourPop, and it's the shade Snake Eyes. This means I'm gonna need to clean up this palette sooner rather than later. I would describe that as like a taupe with a hint of rose gold in it. One of my favorite types of lid shades. So, all right, this is kind of an interesting color story. Not too bad. I don't dislike it. Let's go ahead and see what we can do with all 5 of these on my eyes right now. So even though it's so dark, I think I'm gonna start out with a very light dusting of Smooth from the e.l.f. palette in my crease. I'm barely tapping my brush in there because I just want a very light amount of this. But I'm gonna start out the crease with this. Normally I start out the crease with a much lighter shade. I think I wanna use that same brush, it's just a fluffy crease brush, and go into Paper Tiger and just add that into the crease as well to kind of warm things up and blend the brown a little bit more. Now I'm gonna take this beautiful color from ColourPop, the shade Snake Eyes. Really pretty color. But I'm just gonna put that on my lid. I think this is gonna be a pretty simple neutral look. I mean, there's not a whole lot of color going on here apart from the mustard, which I guess I could have featured the mustard a little bit more. We'll see. Still a work in progress. I'm sure I will do many more different looks with these, and I'll definitely showcase those in my next eyeshadow roulette video in the beginning of February. I think I really do want to showcase this yellow a little bit more since it's really the standout shade here. So I want to add a little bit more of this to the outer part of my lid. I don't always like to put a deep dark shade in my outer corner. I think sometimes like a medium tone can look really pretty too. And like the fact that this is a yellow, it kind of stands alone and like adds some definition without needing to be dark. Does that make sense? So that leaves us with Icy from the Shared Planet Polar Bear palette and Friendly from theBalm palette that still need to be used. So I think I will use Icy as my inner corner highlight right now. Kind of the obvious thing to do with it, but it is a really nice brightening shade. Very icy, as the name implies. I think it's a beautiful inner corner highlight. Just blending a little bit, not adding anything to this brush, but just blending between the yellow and the ColourPop. I kind of want to do a tiny wing. I'm getting kind of crazy here. A tiny wing with Friendly on the upper lash line, and then I also plan, I think I'm just going to use the brush that comes with this palette. It has a little angled brush there. I always like the way this kind of plum shade looks next to a yellow, and I'm only going to keep that on the outer half of my upper lash line. I don't want to bring it in. I want to keep the inside of my eyes very bright. I'll also use that shade just lightly smudged on my lower lash line like I often do, just to give a little definition. And while I'm holding this palette, I'm just going to tap into Fearless, which is the white cream shade, and clean up the edges, brighten the brow bone a little. Okay, so there we are. I finished off with my CoverGirl LashBlast Volume Mascara, and on the lips I'm wearing my Bite Lip Crayon in Glacé. This is in my project pan, so I wanted to use it, but it also goes really nicely with these colors. I like how this is kind of a soft look, but the yellow provides something a little unexpected. I'm sure I'll be using this a lot as a crease shade, but I also like it as like a soft way of defining the outer corner. So there's all 5 of the shadows on my eyes. I'm sure I'll come up with a lot more looks this month using these in all kinds of different ways, and I will show you some pictures in my next roulette update. So I think that just about wraps up this video. These are the 5 shadows that I'll be focusing on this month. I also have 2 eyeshadows in my project pan currently, so I've got a lot of shadows to focus on, 7 to be exact. I'm never just limiting myself to only these shadows. I'm allowed to use whatever shadows I want in my collection, but the goal is just to use each of these and, you know, really get some use out of these shades and the palettes that they're in as well. I'm excited that we did get a shade from the new palette, because that'll give me another excuse to use this some more. But definitely look forward to a 3 looks 1 palette with this. I'm excited to share that. Really fun palette, loving it right now. Thank you so much for joining me for this eyeshadow roulette video. Let me know if you liked this format. Sometimes I like to switch things up just because it's more fun that way, but let me know if you prefer a separate get ready with me later in the month, or if you'd like for me to include the look in this video. But I will see you again very soon in my next video, and I hope you have a great week. Bye guys.